I'd never imagined my first trip to Japan would be anything more than an exploration of the country I'd dreamed about since childhood. Growing up in a small town, my days were spent watching anime, practicing basic Japanese phrases, and reading about Japanese culture. The allure of the bustling streets of Tokyo, serene temples in Kyoto, and the neon-lit wonderland of Akihabara felt like something out of a dream. But what I didn't know was that this trip would fundamentally change not just how I saw the world, but how I saw myself. It started innocently enough. I landed in Tokyo on a bright spring morning, greeted by cherry blossoms lining the streets. Everything about the city fascinated me. The language, the food, the fashion. It was everything I'd imagined, but amplified by the sheer vibrancy of life pulsing through the city. By the third day of my trip, I found myself walking into Akihabara, the heart of otaku culture. The area was alive with colors and sounds, a place where towering buildings were plastered with larger-than-life anime posters and shops overflowed with merchandise ranging from action figures to rare manga. It felt like stepping into a different dimension. I wandered from shop to shop, losing track of time and myself. Each place seemed to hold treasures I never knew I needed. Then, almost by accident, I stumbled into a shop that was far less crowded than the others. The window display was subdued. No blaring music or flashy lights, just a simple sign that read, "Transformations, Akihabara style." Curiosity pulled me inside. It was smaller than most stores I'd visited, with warm lighting and shelves lined with wigs, makeup, and clothing. A stylish woman behind the counter greeted me with a smile. "Welcome. Are you here for the full transformation experience?" she asked in flawless English. I laughed nervously, assuming she'd mistaken me for someone else. "No, I just wandered in. What kind of transformations are we talking about?" She tilted her head, studying me for a moment. "We specialize in creating alternate personas. People come here to try on a new look, explore a different side of themselves. It's all in good fun." I glanced around. The idea intrigued me, but I wasn't sure I was the type to try something so bold. As if sensing my hesitation, she said, "It's popular with tourists. You'd be surprised how liberating it can be. No pressure, though." Her words lingered. Maybe it was the sense of anonymity that made me stay. No one here knew me, and if I was ever going to step outside my comfort zone, this was the place to do it. I nodded. "All right, I'll give it a try." She led me to a small room in the back, where racks of clothing and shelves of makeup awaited. "What kind of look are you thinking? Cute? Sophisticated? Bold?" "I have no idea," I admitted. She smiled. "Why don't we start simple? Trust me." Over the next hour, she worked her magic. First came the makeup, foundation, contouring, blush, eyeliner, and mascara. Each stroke seemed to erase parts of me I thought were immutable. Then came the wig, long, silky black hair that framed my face perfectly. Finally, she selected a dress, a soft, pastel ensemble that felt impossibly delicate. When I looked in the mirror, I hardly recognized myself. The person staring back wasn't the slightly awkward guy who'd landed in Japan a few days ago. This was someone confident, radiant, and undeniably feminine. I look amazing," I whispered, more to myself than to her. She laughed softly. "You do. Now let's complete the experience. Why don't you step outside and see how it feels?" Stepping out of the boutique, I felt a mix of exhilaration and terror. Every click of my heels on the pavement seemed deafening, and I was hyper-aware of every glance that came my way. But to my surprise, no one stared. If anything, the occasional passerby who did notice me offered a polite nod or a quick compliment. As I wandered through the streets of Akihabara, something strange happened. I began to relax. The fear of being discovered melted away, replaced by a growing sense of joy. For the first time in my life, I felt free, not just to be someone else, but to be myself. I returned to the boutique hours later, reluctant to let go of the persona I'd created. "That was incredible," I told the woman. "Many people feel that way," she said with a knowing smile. "It's why I started this shop. Sometimes, trying on a new identity can reveal things about the one you already have." Over the next week, I found myself returning to the boutique daily. Each time, I experimented with a different look: elegant, playful, casual. With every transformation, I learned more about the person I was becoming. It wasn't just about the clothes or the makeup. It was about the confidence and happiness I felt when I saw myself in the mirror. On my final day in Tokyo, I decided to take things a step further. I asked the boutique owner to teach me how to recreate the looks on my own. She spent hours showing me how to apply makeup, style wigs, and choose outfits that suited me. Before I left, she handed me a small bag filled with essentials: a wig, a few makeup products, and a dress I'd fallen in love with during one of my transformations.
"Take this with you," she said.
You don't have to leave this part of yourself behind. Returning home was surreal. The vibrant streets of Tokyo felt like a distant memory, but the experiences I'd had there were impossible to forget. I spent weeks experimenting in private, recreating the looks I'd learned. Each time, I felt that same sense of freedom and joy I discovered in Akihabara. But as much as I loved this new part of myself, I struggled with how to integrate it into my life. What would my friends and family think? Could I ever fully embrace this side of me outside the safety of my home? The answer came unexpectedly. One evening, I decided to attend a local event I'd heard about, a cosplay convention. It felt like a natural extension of what I'd experienced in Japan. Dressed in one of my favorite outfits, I stepped into the crowded venue, heart pounding. To my relief, the atmosphere was welcoming and accepting. People complimented my look, asked for photos, and shared their own stories of self-expression. For the first time, I realized I wasn't alone in my journey. Over time, my confidence grew. I started sharing this part of myself with close friends who were surprisingly supportive. Some even encouraged me to explore further, helping me find communities where I could connect with others who shared similar experiences. Looking back, it's hard to believe how much that trip to Japan changed me. What started as a simple vacation became a journey of self-discovery that transformed not just my appearance, but my understanding of who I am. I still think about that boutique in Akihabara and the woman who encouraged me to take that first step. Her words stay with me. Sometimes, trying on a new identity can reveal things about the one you already have. For me, it wasn't just about trying on a new identity. It was about uncovering the one I'd always had, waiting to be set free. The euphoria I felt while exploring this newfound side of myself in Japan gradually gave way to a more complex reality once I returned home. My small-town life didn't exactly mirror the vibrant, accepting streets of Akihabara. People here knew me as the quiet, unassuming guy who never so much as ruffled feathers. I couldn't help but wonder how they'd react if they saw me now, not just dressed differently, but radiating the confidence I'd found abroad. At first, I kept this part of myself hidden. The wigs, dresses, and makeup stayed tucked away in a small box under my bed, a private reminder of the freedom I'd felt. Yet, every night, I found myself opening that box, pulling out the pieces, and spending hours in front of the mirror. Each transformation felt like a homecoming, even if no one else could see it. But the question that lingered was this: how much longer could I keep this part of myself locked away? The answer came sooner than I expected. A local art festival was coming up, a relatively open-minded event for a town as conservative as mine. It wasn't a cosplay convention, but it was a space where creativity and self-expression were celebrated. I decided it was now or never. If I couldn't reveal this side of myself here, then where? I spent days preparing. I chose a simple yet elegant outfit, a navy blue dress that hugged my figure in just the right way, paired with a light cardigan. My makeup was understated but polished, and the wig I'd chosen, a shoulder-length bob, framed my face with an effortless charm. As I stared at myself in the mirror, I felt a nervous thrill. This wasn't just about looking good. It was about showing the world the real me, even if only for a few hours. Walking into the festival was like stepping into a new reality. My heart raced as I passed the first few attendees, their faces neutral or distracted. But then, something incredible happened. A young woman working at a booth smiled warmly and said, "I love your outfit. You look amazing." "Thank you," I stammered, my voice softer than usual. Her genuine compliment buoyed me, and I began to relax. As the day went on, I received more compliments, engaged in casual conversations, and even posed for a few photos when people mistook me for a performer. Each interaction chipped away at the fear I'd been carrying, replacing it with a growing sense of belonging. Buoyed by the success of that day, I decided it was time to share this side of myself with the people closest to me. The first person I told was my best friend, Alex, who'd been my confidant since childhood. We met up at our usual spot, a quiet cafe tucked away from the main street. "I have something to tell you," I said, my hands trembling slightly as I stir my coffee. Alex leaned in, their expression curious but patient. "What's up?" Taking a deep breath, I began to explain my experience in Japan, how it had opened my eyes to a part of myself I'd never fully understood. I showed them a photo I'd taken at the art festival, hesitating as I waited for their reaction. For a moment, Alex said nothing. Then, a slow smile spread across their face. "Honestly, you look incredible. And more importantly, you look happy. I've known you for years, but I don't think I've ever seen you look like this." Tears pricked my eyes as relief washed over me. Alex's acceptance gave me the courage to open up to a few more friends. Each conversation met with varying degrees of curiosity, support, and the occasional awkward question. While not everyone understood immediately, most were willing to listen, and that meant everything. As months went by, I began to integrate this side of myself more openly into my life. At first, it was small things, wearing a touch of eyeliner or a more androgynous outfit when running errands. But over time, my confidence grew. I started experimenting with a wider range of looks and found joy in mixing traditionally masculine and feminine elements to create a style that felt uniquely mine. The internet became a lifeline during this period. I joined forums and social media groups where others shared their experiences of exploring gender identity and self-expression. Through these communities, I discovered that my journey wasn't as unusual as I'd once thought. Countless others had gone through similar transformations, each story as unique and inspiring as the last. One evening, I posted my story online, complete with before and after photos from my time in Japan. The response was overwhelming. Messages of encouragement and shared experiences poured in from people around the world. Some told me my story had given them the courage to take their first steps toward self-discovery, while others offered advice and support as I continued my journey. The biggest hurdle, however, was my family. I'd grown up in a household where traditional values were the norm. My parents weren't unkind, but they had a limited understanding of anything outside their comfort zone. Telling them felt like the ultimate test. I chose a quiet Sunday afternoon to break the news. We were sitting in the living room, the familiar hum of a football game on the TV in the background. My mom was knitting and my dad was reading the newspaper. It felt like the right moment, or at least as close to right as I was going to get. "I need to talk to you both about something important," I began, my voice steady despite the nerves twisting in my stomach. They set aside their distractions and turned their attention to me. I explained everything: my trip to Japan, the boutique, and how it had sparked a journey of self-discovery that I couldn't ignore. I showed them the same photo I'd shared with Alex, bracing myself for their reaction. My mom was the first to speak. "You look beautiful," she said softly, her eyes misting over. "I can see how happy this makes you." My dad was quieter, his brow furrowed in thought. After a long pause, he said, "This is a lot to take in, but you're still our child." That hasn't changed. Their support wasn't perfect, and there were moments of misunderstanding and adjustment in the weeks that followed. But the fact that they were willing to try meant everything. It's been over a year since that fateful trip to Japan, and my life is unrecognizable from what it once was. I've started using she/her pronouns and exploring the possibility of transitioning more fully, though I'm taking things one step at a time. What began as a whimsical decision to try something new has blossomed into a profound journey of self-discovery and acceptance. I often think back to that boutique in Akihabara and the woman who encouraged me to take that first step. Without her, I might never have discovered this side of myself. And while the path hasn't always been easy, it's been worth every challenge. Looking in the mirror now, I see someone I never thought I'd meet, a woman who is confident, joyful, and unapologetically herself. And to think, it all started with a trip to Japan and a little boutique that dared me to imagine a different kind of future. Thank you so much for watching till now. It means the world to have you here. This community is all about empowering each other and celebrating the incredible journeys of everyone on their path to living authentically. If you're ever feeling lost or alone, remember you have a whole family here for you. Hit that subscribe button, smash that like button, and let's keep inspiring each other, sending you all the love and strength in the world. Until next time, live your life by your rules.